If you're moving to Seattle and looking at the east side, then Kirkland is one of the cities that has to be on your radar. In this video, I'm going to cover why it's such a hot spot, why people fall in love with Kirkland, and what you can get and at what price points. So Kirkland is actually going to have a little bit of everything. You've got a ton of waterfront, you've got a lot of green space within the city limits, and the city limits are going to be spanning both sides of the 405 here, which I'll get into later in this video. It's got a downtown, which is what a lot of people see when they look up and research Kirkland. But Kirkland also has more suburban feel as well. So it offers a little bit of everything. As far as proximity, you're 10 to 15 minutes from downtown Bellevue and that major city center of the east side. And you've got a couple options for crossing the lake over to Seattle. So Kirkland does give you proximity to Bellevue, and it does still give you access to Seattle. It's probably a 20 to 30-minute drive, um, non-peak traffic. So you still have access to Seattle, but still have the East Side lifestyle. So let's start with downtown Kirkland. So downtown Kirkland is going to be right on Lake Washington here. You have a ton of shops, restaurants, and bars, and a couple awesome parks. Heritage Park is an awesome one. It sits on a bluff overlooking Lake Washington, has some cool views of Seattle as well. And the main park and attraction in downtown Kirkland is going to be the Marina Park. And during the summer, this becomes a boating hotspot. You can drive your boat up to the marina, dock for the day, have lunch, dinner, shopping, and head on back across the lake and park your boat in Seattle, and do that all in one day. And it's an awesome trip if you're a boater. And unlike Bellevue, Kirkland has a more laid back lakefront lifestyle type of vibe. And so it's not going to have super tall buildings. It's going to have more of like a small village feel. It almost feels like a French Riviera type feel with all of the condos and townhomes overlooking the lake and a lot of these single level retail strips along the waterfront. So that's all going to be concentrated here in this core downtown. And just to give you an idea, here's a couple examples of the marina park. So you have the Kirkland Marina here, parking, and if you're coming in to Kirkland on a boat, you can hop off and just walk straight into the downtown area, which is up this street here. And you immediately just have a ton of shopping, restaurants, and there's one specific little alley here that has really good restaurants. And in the summertime, there's a lot of outdoor dining set up. You can kind of see some examples here. But it's pretty intimate. It doesn't have a big city feel, but it's very modern, very clean, and there's a lot to do within a short walking distance. And here's a good example of what downtown Kirkland's urban living looks like. There's going to be a lot of apartments, condos, townhomes. These all have views of Seattle and Lake Washington because they face southeast. And then you've got a lot of single level retail establishments all along this main strip. And you can see everything borders the lake. So if I continue down Lake Street, and you can see as we're going here, all the shops, all the residential living right behind it, very walkable. But what a lot of people really like is that lakefront water vibe. There's lots of parks along the lake here that you can just go and chill at during the summertime, and you don't even have to get in your car. So one of those here is David Brink Park, which we're coming up on right now. And it's not a large park, but it's got plenty of space to just throw a blanket down and just hang out, and you just have amazing views of the lake. And then you have Seattle in the distance here, and it's just super, super relaxing. I'm just going to continue down this street as well, just so you have an idea. You can tell just by looking at these residents, Kirkland does have an upscale vibe, and the price points reflect that here. So if you're looking for a single family house that's on the Kirkland waterfront, you are going to be in the luxury tier. So you're looking at anywhere from 2 to 3 million on the low end, all the way up to probably 5 to 7 million if you're directly on the water. So it is definitely ultra premium, but this isn't the only part of Kirkland that you can live in. So I want to give you a good idea of what's available from top to bottom. So just to recap, we did a quick exploration around the downtown Kirkland area, the Marina Park waterfront, and down Lake Street, so you can get a better idea of kind of that lakefront vibe that Kirkland has, especially in downtown. Now, if we move a little bit further up the hill from the waterfront, you're going to hit um, the Lee Johnson Field and a newer tech zone. There's a major Google office here and some new developments. So let's take a look at that. So Central Way is the main drag into downtown Kirkland from the 405. So you would get off on the 85th Street exit, take 85th all the way down to Central Way, and then you're right into downtown Kirkland. Okay. Now on your way down the hill, you'll pass Peter Kirk Park, which is a huge green space. There's ball fields, there's playgrounds. It's a really cool park to hang out during the summertime. And then you have what's called the Urban Plaza. So these are major Google offices here, combined with apartments and retail space as well. It's a much newer development, and it's probably I'd say like a 5 to 7 minute walk to the areas that we just looked at. So it's pretty close to downtown, but you've got QFC, grocery, Shake Shack, and a bunch of first level, street level restaurants and some upper scale bars and lounges. So you can kind of see this is all just a couple years old. They just built this. So it still has that upscale feel, a little bit more corporate, but it's not a major defining aspect of Kirkland. But definitely an area that you might want to check out. Some people are going to like that. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and we're going to talk about the other area of Kirkland that a lot of people may not immediately think about or see when they research Kirkland, because so much of Kirkland research revolves around that downtown core and that lakefront lifestyle that we just discussed. But the other area that you need to be aware of is the what's called the Totem Lake area. So the Totem Lake area of Kirkland is going to be a little bit further north of downtown. So you would go up the 405, and Totem Lake is a large shopping and retail district just north of downtown Kirkland. So you would get off the 405, and this has all been redeveloped over the last several years, and so it's also going to have a newer feel. And so you can kind of see this whole entire area called Totem Lake has been redeveloped, and it's all going to be apartments, townhomes, and really heavy upscale retail space all within walking distance. And this particular retail development is called The Village. And you're going to have your Nordstroms, your Lululemon, your spas, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, all in the same parking lot. And this area does get pretty congested because again, it's newer, a lot of good shopping here. And this would be about 10 to 15 minutes out of downtown Kirkland. And so if you don't necessarily have to be, in the ultra luxury part of Kirkland on the waterfront, Totem Lake is a really good option. You have all the grocery stores here, and you have a lot of options. There's tons of neighborhoods around Totem Lake as well if you want single family. But there's plenty of options for condos and townhomes as well if you're looking for more of an urban feel. But you can kind of see as I'm scrolling through here, it's really been very intentionally developed to be walkable. And if you lived in Totem Lake proper, uh, you still need a car, especially if you're commuting to work and whatnot. But as far as grabbing a bite to eat or going shopping, um, it's very accessible. And so a lot of people really like Totem Lake. You're also really close to Evergreen Hospital. This is one of the top rated hospitals in the entire state. I'll give it a little bit of a plug because my son was actually born here, so I'm definitely a little biased. But if you do the research, it is one of the top rated hospitals in the state, very, very, very close to Totem Lake. And so if you value, having a lot of access to retail and having more of an urban feel, and you don't have to necessarily be on the lake, Totem Lake is definitely a spot to consider. It's also more accessible to 405 as well. So if proximity to the freeway is important to you, maybe you have to commute to Seattle for work. That would be another consideration here. It's very easy on and off. There's three or four different ways to get on and off 405 in Totem Lake. Very accessible. So from Totem Lake, let's talk about some of the subdivisions that are going to be more single family residential heavy. So you have in Northwest Kirkland, the Juanita area. It's right here in Juanita Bay. Another great beach park. Definitely a smaller version of Kirkland downtown. So definitely a lot quieter, but still has like kind of a miniature lakefront vibe. And up on Finn Hill here, this is going to be all residential. You can see there's really a lot of green space in Kirkland. It's not hard to see. So if you really value parks and being able to get into nature, get under the trees, you don't have to go far in Kirkland. The other areas are going to be Kingsgate, Sweetbriar, and Furlock, which is just south of Totem Lake. So also going to be very heavy single family residential, more conventional subdivisions. And then if we move a bit further south of downtown, you've got an area called Central Houghton, or otherwise known as Lakeview. And Bridle Trails, which just is on the border of North Bellevue. Bellevue's right here. Bridle Trails is this section here. There's a state park that takes up a lot of it, and this area is full of horse ranches. This state park actually has a lot of horse riding trails. So if you drive through Bridle Trails, you're going to see a lot of really high-end luxury. Some are mansions, but a lot of horse pastures as well. So you've got these luxury homes that also have acreage, and not every property has horses, but there's a high concentration of homes that have pastures here that are high end. So if you drive through bridle trails on any given day, especially during the summertime, it's not uncommon to see a horse crossing one of these roads as they go through the trails in and out of the state park. And it's very tucked away. So if you value privacy, maybe you want a gated driveway, bridle trails might be the neighborhood for you because it's very dense in terms of the foliage. There's a lot of forest, and there's options for a lot of privacy on your properties here. And the price point is also reflected in that as well. Some of these properties can rival the Kirkland lakefront properties and be anywhere from, 2 to 3 million all the way up to 5+ million, depending on the home and the lot. So it's definitely going to be a more premium neighborhood within Kirkland itself. If you want to be in Kirkland, but you don't want to pay the ultra luxury prices, there's still some really good value pockets. One of those being Kingsgate. So Kingsgate's going to be a little bit further north and still within the Kirkland city limits. And home prices in the Kingsgate, for example, can run anywhere from 950,000 up to roughly 1.3 million. And so Kirkland doesn't necessarily have to be ultra premium in every section. It's very neighborhood specific. And some of these value pockets still give you access to Kirkland without the typical Kirkland price tag. And Finn Hill is actually also an area that you can find decent priced homes. The main difference between Finn Hill and Kingsgate, though, is definitely going to be access because there's a lot more side roads in the Finn Hill area. You're not as close to 405. So if access to the freeway is a big thing for you, this area might not be for you. But it's a really nice neighborhood. Finn Hill definitely has some upscale properties as well, especially as you approach the water or if you're on top of the hill, southwest facing, where a lot of properties have views of Lake Washington and Seattle. But in general, it's a really great area, especially if you want to be away from more of the downtown core, away from the retail developments. It's definitely worth considering. Now, in general, Kirkland also has top-rated schools. There's multiple school districts depending on what neighborhood of Kirkland that you're in. So you're going to want to do your research once you narrow down what specific neighborhoods you're actually interested in. But in general, that's also a consideration for a lot of people doing research on what areas to move into. And the last area that I want to cover is Norkirk. So Norkirk or North Kirkland and Market neighborhoods, they're going to be just north of downtown Kirkland. This is actually a hill as you go up Market Street. And so the homes in Norkirk are a little bit more elevated. This is where a lot of the downtown Kirkland single family residential is going to be. Same with Market. But the cool thing about these areas up here, there's a variety of home styles and architectures. You could drive 3 or 4 blocks and see 3 or 4 different styles of homes. So there's definitely some dynamics. It's not a boring neighborhood whatsoever. They are going to be more premium price points because you have that close. It's actually walkable to downtown Kirkland, so you're almost right on the lake. And a lot of these homes do have some sort of a view of Lake Washington or Seattle, but really cool architecture, proximity to many different parks, and you can still be a little bit removed from the busyness of the retail section and still have it be walkable. So North Kirkland and Market are definitely areas that you're going to want to check out if Kirkland's on your radar. I think it has the best of both worlds in terms of, quiet and privacy and still being accessible to everything that you're going to want in terms of shopping, restaurants, and you still have proximity to the freeway as well because you can just go down Market, hop on Central, and hit 405 in just a couple minutes. So it's still relatively easy to commute as well if you're not working in Kirkland also. So as you can see, Kirkland has a lot of different pockets, and every pocket has a different lifestyle. So if you're looking at Kirkland as one single unit or area, you're gonna miss out on all of the nuances that this city actually offers. So if you're watching this video and you're thinking, wow, this looks really great, but which specific pocket would make the most sense for my lifestyle? Feel free to reach out. I help people move to the area. I'm born and raised in the Seattle area, and I can usually point someone in the right direction. If you tell me two or three things that you got to have or that are complete deal breakers for you, I can usually point you in the right direction. My contact details are below. Once you get to the end of this video, if you still have questions, let me know. Happy to chat.